Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to learn about loops. So in previous lesson, we learned about the random. So let's go ahead and import random so we can generate some random integers. And we also learned about teleporting. So let's go ahead and we'll generate 3 random integers. We'll have x go from negative 127 to positive 127. The y value, let's have that go from 0, so ground level, to 64. And then the z will also have that go from negative 127 to 127. So to teleport our player, we're going to set the tile position to x, y, z, and that would excuse me, teleport our player to that location. So let's go ahead and run. And there, my player, it looks like he got teleported underground. So let's run again. And that time he was up in the sky, right? He ended up on this sandy beach. Okay, now if I wanted to teleport my player more than one time, okay, then we're going to need a loop. So most loops we're going to control using a counter. So we'll go ahead and start our counter at 1, and then we'll say while that count is less than or equal to 3 with a colon. And when we press enter after the colon, notice that it automatically tabs over. So we need to reposition our block of code here so that it's tabbed to the same 5 spaces inside of our while loop. So this would happen now 3 times, as long as we increment the count each time. So we're going to go ahead and do count plus equals 1, and that would happen then 3 times. Now it would happen so quickly though that we wouldn't be able to see the changes in position. So let's come back up to our import statements, and we'll say from time import sleep. And that way after we teleport, we can sleep for 3 or 4 seconds, and then it'll iterate again so that we can see it happen a little more slowly. Okay, and then to keep an eye on our counting, let's go ahead and we'll print the count at the start of each loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and run our module. Okay, so there's count 1. And then count 2, and count 3, and then our program terminates. Okay, now a count doesn't have to be called count, right? Sometimes people will call it the index, and we could say while the index is less than or equal to 3, right? That variable can be called whatever you want to keep count of the number of times your loop is going to iterate. You also don't have to increment, right? We could, instead of starting at 1 and counting up to 3, we could start at 3 and then say while that index is greater than 0. Okay? And then instead of adding, we would subtract. We would decrement our loop each time. Another type of loop that you'll sometimes see is a forever loop. And a forever loop occurs when instead of having a count variable, you say while true. And there's nothing to change that true, so it's going to happen forever. So for instance, let's get our position for our player. So we'll have position equals world.player.getPos. And let's go ahead and we'll set a block. So set block. And we'll do our position X, position Y, position Z that we got from the getPosition function. And then we want to follow that up with a block type. So let's do block type 38. Okay, so now we'll sleep for a half a second so that things aren't happening so quickly, and go ahead and run. Okay, and now we come back and we'll walk around a little bit. And as we come back and look at where we've been, we can see every half a second a flower gets planted in the world where we're walking. Okay. Now that's going to keep happening forever because there's no condition there to stop this loop. So everywhere I walk, for as long as I'm in this world and the program is running, a flower is going to get planted. Now the only way we can get out of this loop, since we're stuck in it now, is to come down to the shell, and we're going to restart the shell. Okay? And notice that then stops the program from running, and that's how we could exit out of that forever loop. Okay, another type of loop that we could do is we could have some conditions that control how the loop operates. So before we start our loop, okay, let's go ahead and get our player's position. So world.player.getTilePosition. And let's create a dance floor in Minecraft. So we're going to set the front corner of our floor to be our player's position minus 2 blocks. And then we'll have the floor's Y position be our player's position Y minus 1 block. And then the Z for the dance floor will be our Z and then minus 2. Okay, let's make a square dance floor. So the width will make 5, the length will be 5, and the block type, let's start out with gold, which is 41. Okay, so to create our dance floor, we'll do world.setBlocks, and this, remember, creates a rectangle. So we'll go from floor X, dance floor Y, dance floor Z, right? That'll be our front left corner. And then our back right corner of our dance floor, we'll add the width to the X value. We'll keep the Y the same. And then we'll add the length to the Z value. And then finally, we need our block type to create that dance floor. Okay, now, if we want our dance floor to blink, to be extra fancy, then we're going to create a while loop with a condition that while we're standing on the dance floor, then it's going to change color. So we'll do our floor X less than equal to our position X less than equal to the dimension of our dance floor, which was floor X plus width. Okay, so this is saying that as long as we are on the dance floor, right, from the front left corner to the back right corner, our position is somewhere in that X range. Okay, then we're going to repeat that condition, but for the Z. So we'll copy this, and then we'll change this to compare our Z positions. And the dimension for that was length instead of width. So as long as our X and our Z position is on the dance floor, and we can do our colon, enter, then let's go ahead and have a condition. So if our block is 41, which is gold. Then let's change it to be diamond, so 57. Okay, and then otherwise, so we'll do an else for the otherwise. That would mean it was 57 coming in, so we'll change it back to 41. And now we're going to draw the dance floor again, so we'll go ahead and grab this just like it was. And we'll paste that inside of our while loop. Excuse me. Oops, too far. There we go. So we're still tabbed over, so we're inside the while loop. That's going to draw the dance floor again. And then we're going to want to get our player's position, so because he's relocated now as we're moving around the dance floor. So we'll go ahead and grab that player's new position. And then let's delay this a little bit so that we can see the floor blinking, so it's not blinking so fast that we don't see what's happening. Okay, so we'll go up here to run our module, and there's my dance floor. And we can see as long as I'm standing on my dance floor, it's blinking, gold, diamond, gold, diamond. But as soon as I get off of the dance floor, right now it's stopped blinking and my program has ended. Okay, now let's go back and look again at that while true loop, the forever loop. Okay, so while true, and let's gather some user input. So we'll call this message, and we'll gather some input. So enter your message will be our prompt. Okay, now if that message is equal to exit, okay, then we're going to break out of the loop. So we use the word break, and that's going to end the while true loop and eject us out of it. Okay, so if the message is exit, then we're going to break, and then otherwise, so we'll do an else. Okay, then we're going to world.post to chat the message that the player entered. Okay, now if we have broken out of the while true loop, then we'll go ahead and post to the chat, goodbye, user has left the chat. So let's go ahead and run. Okay, so down in the shell, we're prompted to enter our message. So we'll say hello world, and there it appears in our chat. The dance floor was fun. Right? And then when we're ready to leave, we type exit, and it says goodbye, user has left the chat, and our program has ended. Okay, another way that we could set this loop up, rather than doing it with a while true loop that breaks, we could change this to first gather that user's input. So we're going to come up here and grab that message. Okay, then instead of while true, we're going to say while the message does not equal exit. Okay, so while that message does not equal exit, then we can go ahead and post our message to the chat. Okay, then we're going to grab the new message. Okay, and that's going to keep repeating until the user enters exit. And that will break us out of the loop and then say goodbye at the bottom. So let's go ahead and run our module, and we'll enter our message. Hello again. Nice to see you. Exit, and there's our goodbye. User has left the chat.